The Tampa Bay Birth Network is an organization of families, professionals, and individuals who support pregnancy, birth, and parenting as normal and natural processes. Our events provide information and resources to help empower expectant couples. The Tampa Bay Birth Network is a Florida non-for-profit organization and federal 501c3 made up of professionals and individuals who support the natural processes of pregnancy, birth, and parenting. This year's Natural Birth and Baby Expo was hosted by Corbett Preparatory School of IDS in Tampa, Florida. To find out more, please visit www.tampabaybirthnetwork.org.
Hi, I'm Kim. I'm here on behalf of TalkWad Studios, and I'm here talking with Barbara Bedingfield, founder, director, and teacher at Suncoast Waldorf School in Palm Harbor, and one of the parents, Cara Sutherland. Welcome to the studio today, ladies.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here. To start off, just wanted to know what exactly is the affiliation of the Suncoast Waldorf School with the Natural Birth and Baby Expo?
We've been a sponsor now, for a key sponsor for the last 2 years at the Baby Expo. We've attended a number of years. And the Expo is just a wonderful place to meet some of the families that are like-minded and are more of a natural fit at our school. A lot of the parents at the school are more into natural parenting and peaceful parenting. And the Birth Expo has just always been a good fit for the parents that are looking for, you know, a more natural birth experience, parents who are often will nurse. It's just
seems like a natural transition
yeah.
from the birthing process right into the education process. Phenomenal. All right. Well, when I was doing some research on the website for the Waldorf School, I found something that really piqued my interest. It said Waldorf teachers receive specialized training in Waldorf philosophy and methodology. Can you speak to that a little bit about what exactly the Waldorf philosophy and methodology is?
Well, certainly. You know, the first Waldorf school began in 1919 in Stuttgart, Germany, and the education was created by Rudolf Steiner, who was a philosopher, scientist. He had a great following. He was an educator. And first of all, I think the philosophy is really based on the children's development at each stage of their development, so that what you're bringing from birth to 7 or 7 to 14 or 14 to 21 is exactly right for those children in all ways. From birth to age 7, the children learn through imitation, for instance. And so we do not do instruction in the kindergarten. It's a play-based kindergarten.
That's phenomenal.
And then from 7 to 14, the children's thinking is not yet abstract, and they don't learn through concepts. They really learn through pictures. And so when we're teaching them, it's through imagery and all the ways in which the teacher can bring things in a very imaginative and active way. So I would say that based on, you know, the age of the child and what's right for them. And then the teachers, as a teacher, when you're in the training, you're really learning to bring the subjects through the arts. And so the training, a large part of it is learning to paint, to draw, to make beautiful blackboard drawings, to play flutes, to do handwork, to tell stories. Well, it's said that the best way as an adult to have a Waldorf education, if you weren't lucky enough to have one as a child, is to become a teacher.
Go through the training.
Because you go through each grade and you study the curriculum for that particular year, and it is wonderful. It was the greatest training I ever had.
I bet. Now, before this, we were talking a little bit about how the children, or rather the teachers, get to travel through the grades with the children. That's got to be a great bonding experience for the teachers and the children.
It is. Maybe, I don't know if Cara wants to say something about that, since she has 2 children in the school.
Yeah, so my oldest daughter's in the 1st grade, so she's finishing off the year, and it's so comforting to them coming back the next year, you know, knowing their class, knowing their teacher. And starting in the 2nd grade, she doesn't have that whole transition of the teacher getting to know all the children again, you know, kind of starting over from scratch and having that beginning. They can dive right in. You know, they already
Yeah.
have the rhythm, they already know what's expected, you know, different personalities in the classroom and stuff. So it's really nice. And my daughter is just so excited to kind of carry that class on and that teacher on. And I mean, right now we go up through the 5th grade, and after 5th grade she wants to be homeschooled because she couldn't imagine going anywhere else or having any other teacher.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
Well, and from this teacher standpoint, too, you're at the beginning of each year, you already know the students. You
Yeah.
know which students are fast learners and ready for a challenge. You know which ones need more time. You can give them more time.
Yeah.
And we don't give letter grades to children. We don't do standardized testing. We have a system of evaluation called portfolio. And so the children make their own readers, you might say.
Okay.
I don't know if this can be seen or not, but for instance, this is a 2nd grade page
Oh, that's
that
great.
the teacher told a story, and in 2nd grade they hear the fables as part of their literature. The children retold and recounted the story the next day of the hare and the tortoise.
One of my favorites.
Right, and then wrote it on these pages and illustrated it, so that at the end of the year there's a wonderful book that can be sent home that has all of their work, their drawings, and their writing. And as they go through the grades, the books really mature. This is from a 5th grade class.
Oh, that's
So when they were doing
beautiful
Egyptian
artwork.
studies.
That's
And
phenomenal.
hymn to Ra. So there's the writing that goes with it, and the page is decorated. So it's really a piece of artwork.
Yeah.
All of their work, and part of what we teach is to do the careful work and make it beautiful and finish it.
Have
and
pride in
something
their
you're-
completed
have something
project.
you're
That's
proud of.
wonderful.
But that bond with the children is so important, and to be able to be with children from the time they're just coming from kindergarten and seeing them change each year, and knowing what's coming each year when they go through something we call the 9-year change, when they really become aware that they're individuals separate from the rest of the world. And
Yeah.
it's a little bit of an emotional time sometimes for them, and we can prepare the parents not to worry that they're just discovering themselves. And so it's really a study of the human being. And some people say, well, what if my child and the teacher don't get along? And really in Waldorf, at the end of the day, if the teacher looks back and sees something didn't work, or this child didn't respond, we really look at ourselves. Oh, that was too much to bring, or I didn't respond correctly to that child. So you always take responsibility.
And kind of figure out, how can I do this differently? How can I reach this child?
Right. So it's not the child. It's you always take that as your own inner growth.
That's a great way to put it.
Yes.
Great. Well, I think it's very obvious just how different the Waldorf school is in comparison to our conventional schools. Cara, can you talk a little bit about what it is that brought you to the Suncoast Waldorf School? How'd you end up there for your children's education?
Well, I actually found the school through a nursing moms group is how I found out about it. And I came for the first time for a tour, and actually met Barbara for the first time when I took the tour. And the kids were in session, the kids were in their classrooms. And the first time I walked through, I wanted to go to that school. I wish I had had the opportunity to learn in that manner. So it
Well, you can,
Yeah,
if you
I
become a
can.
teacher.
Well, I'm kind of living through my daughter now, who's going through the first grade too. So it's neat to see kind of how she's learning these things. It's really sweet. So that's how I first found the school. And then I joined the Mom and Baby program, which was a really wonderful way to come once a week with my child, my daughter who's now in the first grade, and really get to know the school, and for her to really get to know the school and really get comfortable with the rhythm of the day, and knowing kind of what comes next and what to expect. So then when she turned 3 and was able to start going on her own, it was a very smooth transition because she's very familiar with it. It's a place we've been going. And I had such a great comfort level because I had the opportunity to ask all my questions over the course of, 2 years of being in this moms group to really understand where I'm sending my daughter and really understand the philosophy of the school. And it was such a great introduction to it to really feel comfortable in leaving your child for the first time out of school.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of how we found the school. And, and each year being there and the more I learn about it, it's just unbelievable. And one of the things that has amazed me is how much, the smallest thing, the color of the walls, the curtains that are put up, things that you almost don't even notice or take for granted, all have such extreme purpose behind it.
Really?
And as you kind of uncover more of that and learn about it, it's really quite remarkable. When you first walk in, it's just beautiful, and there's a beautiful work from the children and stuff like that, but you don't really realize how much meaning is behind the smallest things, and even things like the kindergarten teachers wear aprons. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of purpose and meaning behind the apron, and not only that they wear it, but what colors they wear on what days and what those colors mean to the children. So, there's
give us an example.
Well, and Barbara might be able to talk to this a little better, but the whole concept, too, of putting on the apron is when the kindergarten teacher comes to work, it's the kind of putting away of whatever's going on in their own life and kind of, I'm now with these children, I'm going to put this apron on, and now is my time with the children. And it's kind of a symbol of, being present with those kids. And and I don't know I know there's been teachers that will have different colors on different days, and I know red is a color that's very soothing to children who may be, a little more excited, to kind of help calm them. So they'll wrap them in the red apron, and it has such a calming effect. And it's just things like when they wash their hands, they have a place to dry them, just like, you might have done with your grandmother or something when they wore an apron, which isn't something you see much anymore. We don't. Yeah. And when the kids are playing outside and getting dirty, or they have little treasures, the teachers tuck them in their pocket. It's just something so sweet about the apron. And it's just it's one little thing, but to really understand what the purpose behind it and what it does is really amazing.
And it's a little like Mr. Rogers. I don't know if you remember Mr. Rogers.
Of course I do.
How he always took off his sweater or put on
the cardigan,
his sweater.
Took the shoes off.
So and then it's there's a softness to it. So the teacher could wear trousers underneath, but the apron has this softness about it.
Okay.
And young children need that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cold, harsh world in many ways. Loud and noisy and fast, and so the apron is a kind of way of saying, it's a kind of archetypal mother look.
Yeah, like a June cleaver, right?
Maybe so.
All right. Now you did mention something earlier, Cara, about transition, and I was wondering, the location in Palm Harbor, the Suncoast Waldorf School, that just goes to 5th grade, correct?
It does now. Mm-hmm.
So can you speak a little bit to what kind of transition the children have when they go from 5th grade out to the world?
Well, they've actually done quite well. Our school is 16 years old, and our first group of children were with me from kindergarten through grade 4.
Oh, that must be
and
phenomenal.
Now they are in college. And I just am amazed to hear the kinds of things they've done. They've spent a year in the Czech Republic, or they've been very active in community playhouses, acting or athletic, very well-rounded, all of them. Yeah. They just stand out, and it's really rewarding to hear those stories. They go to public schools, they go to private schools, and we have one student who is at the only Waldorf boarding school.
Oh, wow.
It's called High Mowing in New Hampshire, and she did go for 1 year to Tampa Prep, but she then asked her parents if she could go to this boarding school because she missed all of the arts that she had. She was at our school from kindergarten through grade 8. So she went off to this boarding school in New Hampshire and has done just remarkably well there.
Yeah, she missed the philosophy and methodology.
Yes, she said her soul was dying or something like that.
Well,
so
I I could absolutely understand that.
Yeah, so
The
they're
sound of it.
doing well. One student who chose to go to the Tarpon Springs Culinary School was chosen, got a scholarship to go to the, I think it's called the American Institute of Culinary Arts in New York City.
That's wonderful.
So things like that.
Yeah.
They've
No.
done well.
Do any of your previous students contact you and
Yes.
see how you're doing? Yeah.
Yes, they do come back. It's
Oh,
cute to see them when they come back.
All grown.
Yeah, yes. And these squirrely little boys, you know, that you had in the lower grades, you meet them later, and they're these young, handsome young men.
Young
who
men.
are poised and speak so well.
Oh, that's just
And you
lovely.
think, ah, yes, it works.
Yeah, I bet.
It really works.
Now, we had the opportunity to do a little bit of talking, and it was wonderful getting to know you both. And I know that there were a few words that you wanted to use to kind of summarize what the Waldorf School kind of means to you, or what your perception of it. And would you like to share those words with us?
Yes, and you can add some too, Cara. So I thought of such words as joy, because when you come to the school, you see the children are very joyful and happy to be at school. Balance, because their day, their year is so balanced. It's not all head work. They're working with their hands. They're knitting, learning to knit in first grade, and this little gnome fellow was made by a second grader, a boy.
Really, that's just astounding.
That's right. And so they've worked with their hands. They've learned to speak Spanish. They've learned to speak German.
Oh, wow.
In fourth grade, you know, fifth grade next year they will do woodworking, carving
Oh, neat.
of wood. They've had games, playground games led by a special teacher. They've sung. So it's a balanced day. It's integrated. For instance, when the third grade is their block of lessons, we teach them 3 or 4 week blocks. So for 4 weeks, they are learning about shelters in the world. How are homes made? How did people make houses in the past? And they each will make a little model of a teepee or a pueblo or an igloo or something like that. Share it with the class. And then they'll go right into their study of measurement. So as they're talking about the houses and they're going to build something, this class is going to build a rabbit hutch. So they'll be actually measuring for the rabbit hutch. Some teachers have done things like they've told the story of Noah and Noah's Ark in third grade, because that's the literature for third grade, to hear the Old Testament stories. And so they measure how long the ark would be.
Oh, wow.
They step it off on the playground.
That's phenomenal. So they get the lessons, and then they actually get to immerse themselves in the lessons by...
Hands-on,
That's phenomenal.
everything related to them. What other words? I said integrated and balanced and joy. Teacher-led. This was one thing that Steiner insisted on. He said that the people who are closest to the children should be the ones making the decision about curriculum.
That makes sense.
And it's such a wonderful way to teach, because the teachers confer with one another, they help one another, they get ideas from one another, and it's not a top-down kind of run school. It's very collaborative between the administration and the faculty. And then there is a board made up of parents and teachers and community people. So, did I miss any words?
But I think on the joy one, what I love about the school is how the kids are just allowed to be children and play, and that's where the joy comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Is they are out there playing hard and getting dirty, and they're coming home filthy because they have dug and they have climbed, and I think that is a huge part of where the joy comes from. Is, you know, they're having that recess time and that time outdoors, and really getting a chance to explore around them, and even in the classrooms, when you're in the grades in the class, you're not sitting behind a desk all day. A lot of it's movement around the room, or the desks are moved out of the way and the kids are in the center of the room. Or even at story time, it's really sweet how the kids move their chair up by the teacher. It's not all them sitting, because I remember very much sitting behind a desk all the time and having my desk and then the teacher behind their desk, And it's just really nice how those barriers aren't in place. It's really about moving around the room, and the furniture is all movable, and you just kind of you move so that whatever's appropriate for what you're doing, you can do. You don't always have that barrier, and that's one of the things I loved. Even the first time I toured the school, I couldn't believe that the kids, that the desks were all shoved against one wall, and so I think that's that plane and that joy really comes from a lot of that as well.
It seems to sound a lot more along the lines of that natural flow that you mentioned earlier. The naturalness. Sorry.
I think I would say beauty. Beauty is important. As Cara said, when you come into the school, you realize that much thought has been given to how the rooms look.
Yeah.
And the color of the walls, but they're not plastered with posters. The teachers make their own alphabet strip,
Oh, that's nice.
The children's paintings are on the wall, but you don't have a lot on the wall. There's not clutter. You need some space to rest your eyes.
It could be overstimulating.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So it's important that children have order and beauty in their lives, and the parents in the school have done a remarkable job landscaping.
Oh, wow.
So there are little gardens, different kinds of gardens, and the third graders this year, each child had his or her own little garden plot outside the classroom.
That's
and
great.
They have cooked their food and shared it with the school.
So they grew it, they planted it, they grew it, and then they had the opportunity to cook it and feed it.
And, yes.
I would imagine, in addition to the lessons that are taught, it would also instill such value, knowing where the food came from and knowing the work that goes into, the such items that they have that other kids probably take for granted. That's astounding. I know the first time we met, I said that I would love to teach at a school like this. It's just, it seems like such a loving and wholesome and different environment.
Two other good words. Loving and wholesome.
Loving and wholesome. There you go.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
It is hard to explain Waldorf because it's so comprehensive and it's so different. The way we teach and the way the teachers really have to create the lessons themselves. And not that they don't call on other teachers and use resources that Waldorf teachers have created and provided through the many years, almost 100 years of Waldorf schools. But you have that freedom to teach, and I think this is what teachers in other schools that are under the pressure of the standardized testing, I think they're feeling very as if their hands are tied now. Because they can't take time sometimes to even read stories to the children. Everything is test-driven at the expense, I think, of the children. I guess another word would be relaxed. And I'm not saying that to mean that the children don't work hard, because they really do. They do very beautiful work and they concentrate. But I don't think there is stress.
No.
And I think when children feel stress, they really are not at their optimum level of performance.
Absolutely.
So they need to feel relaxed, and they need to feel, that they can do things, and they can be slower than others. That's okay. And they can make a mistake, and that's okay. They can correct it.
That's what we learn from. We learn the most lessons when we make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge part of it is instilling in them that relaxation and that understanding and the acceptance that it is okay to make a mistake and that we learn from it. And that's something that most likely, can be skipped about because, as you said, in the public school they so frequently teach to the test that they don't have the opportunity to teach life lessons, which it seems is really what the Waldorf kind of embraces.
And when you say about the kids being relaxed, I think it's really interesting because I think often the kids don't even realize they're learning. The way in which things are done, it's just fun and it's natural, and they don't even realize that they've just learned their times table or they've just done whatever, because it's such, the approach to it is just really speaks to them, and it's like it's just fun, or it's instilled such a natural curiosity that they want to know more, that they don't even realize, I'm being taught something. Or, so if you, to ask my daughter at the end of the day, what'd you learn, she'd kind of be like, But she has no idea, all these things she did all day. She was really learning, but to her it was just really fun, or she was really curious about it, and she found out about something. And then you'll kind of hear over dinner, she'll talk about this or that, and you'll begin to see what they actually learned, but she can't really necessarily rhyme it off because it had all just been part of a relaxed, fun day to her.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, I do see you have a few more items here. Would you like to share this with us?
Some of the other items. Well, as I said, the Waldorf kindergarten is a play-based kindergarten. Many children today they don't really have a chance to pretend to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're expected to begin first grade work, got to do the phonics and all of that.
Yeah.
And we have the little kitchen corner where they can go and play with the dolls. This is the typical Waldorf doll, and it's handmade and filled with wool, so it's very warm and soft to hold. And you notice the face has hardly any, just little indications for eyes and mouth, because it really leaves room for the child's imagination.
Yeah. Maybe
Maybe the baby's asleep, or maybe she's crying, or maybe she's laughing, but it's not a frozen expression.
Yeah.
So the doll is an important part of the kindergarten, and that I've been in some kindergartens, and you look, it's at, the children aren't there, but the dolls have no clothes on, and they're just kind of stuff in a shelf.
Yeah.
So at the end of the kindergarten day, the teacher makes sure that the dolls are put in the doll bed and covered up. And when you model that for the children, then that's what they learn.
Yeah, because children learn what they see,
That's right.
not what they're told.
That's right.
Well, and that's a lot in the parent-child play group, is the teacher of that play group, it kind of will help you as a parent in understanding those things. And I learned so much being in that class, simple things like that you when you're putting away the toys, it's not throwing them in bins, it's you place things back gently, you value your items and you carefully put them away, and things aren't rushed and hurried, and that even goes into when you're sweeping the floor, have the children sweep with you, and it's not a rush, hurry to get it done. It's a very gentle sweeping of the floor, kind of taking pride in those jobs that you're doing and doing them well. And that's part of, one of the many things that you kind of learn in the class. You learn about parenting and things like that, but some of those things really stuck with me, to really realize they're the simplest of things, but it can make such a difference in your home when you just take that gentler approach and really involve your children and show them, things of value, and, placing things back properly and stuff like that.
So you don't have to do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
And when you're in the kindergarten, you don't hear the teachers talking a lot. Of course, they tell a story every day. They sing during the circle time, or they sing when they're transitioning, they'll sing some little song so the children know what's happening. But one of the things that we want to do as a school is to offer parent classes, so that all parents can learn this simpler, slower way of parenting that is so nurturing to children.
Yeah.
So we will do that at some point.
Okay. Well, I know that you had mentioned that there's a website that people might be able to go to. That was suncoastwaldorf.org.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and I believe that it had been shown on the bottom of the screen at some point. I think we're about out of time. Ladies, I wanted to thank you so much for coming in and taking this opportunity to get some information out there for parents or soon-to-be parents. And
thank you for letting us come.
Absolutely, it's been my pleasure. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the time with Miss Barbara Bedingfield and Cara Sutherland from the Suncoast Waldorf School. Have a great day.
The Tampa Bay Birth Network is an organization of families, professionals, and individuals who support pregnancy, birth, and parenting as normal and natural processes. Our events provide information and resources to help empower expectant couples. The Tampa Bay Birth Network is a Florida non-for-profit organization and federal 501c3 made up of professionals and individuals who support the natural processes of pregnancy, birth, and parenting. This year's Natural Birth and Baby Expo was hosted by Corbett Preparatory School of IDS in Tampa, Florida. To find out more, please visit www.tampabaybirthnetwork.com.